Minnesota Child Care Association is issuing a safety alert after a string of car break-ins at daycare centers across the metro, including in Maple Grove. Reporter Sonia Goins has more on the investigation.
The daycare dash is familiar to a lot of parents.
So you can see everybody, we're talking about everybody just kind of goes about their business.
Criminals are counting on you to be careless. This video from Primrose School in Maple Grove shows just what can happen in a matter of minutes.
They'll pull in at first just normally, and then they're going to back into a spot waiting for everything to kind of clear out.
Watch closely as the man gets out of the white car and quickly checks to see if anyone is looking. He pulls on door handles, and when he finds they are locked, he breaks a window and grabs items off the front seat.
They stole a backpack with all her work laptops and other personal information.
Joseph Pickett is the owner of 2 Primrose schools. He's also on the board of the Minnesota Child Care Association.
A couple days later, they tried to go to a Wells Fargo with the parents' checkbook to try to write checks and get cash for those checks, but they were stopped at that point.
Pickett says parents tend to let their guards down because it's a daycare center and considered a safe place. In the past 6 months, Primrose was hit 3 times by the criminals, twice in Maple Grove and once here at the Brooklyn Park location.
But we were able to still get a good picture of the car, and it was the exact same car all 3 times.
Maple Grove police are running the license plates, trying to determine who owns the car. In the meantime, they want people to take precautions.
And so we advise everybody to keep your vehicles locked, of course. But the main thing is not leave valuables in the car, and if you have to, don't leave them where they're visible.
Sonia Goins, CCX News.
The Golden Valley City Council voted in favor of restricting parking on Glenwood Avenue, saying the change could ultimately make the road a safer place. Hennepin County plans to overlay a 2-mile stretch of Glenwood Avenue from Highway 100 to Xerxes Avenue. It's a key east-west route between Minneapolis and Golden Valley. The county wants to use this opportunity to add bike lanes, much like what is already in place elsewhere on Glenwood Avenue. However, this would limit parking for residents, and people who live on Glenwood Avenue have spoke out against the parking restrictions. The council felt narrowing the road and adding bike lanes could make Glenwood Avenue a safer place for everyone.
The happy medium is we can't have it all, so what do we give up? And I hate to give up safety.
It's a dangerous road, and so I'm voting for this not only for bikers, and you guys may not believe this, but that is a dangerous place to park.
The council voted 5-0 to support the parking restrictions. They also urged Hennepin County to look into adding crosswalks and reducing speed in order to make the roadway safer. In Plymouth, residents got a look at a few options for what's next for County Road 47. The roadway has seen traffic volume go up as the city has grown. The city and Hennepin County are studying the future of the entire corridor from Northwest Boulevard to the Maple Grove border. They gathered feedback on 2 options Wednesday night.
On both options, there's trail on both sides of the rebuilt road, and that's something we heard a lot about. Was there's no place to walk. We want to be able to move around in the neighborhood, get to parks.
Residents have also expressed concern about a lack of turn lanes and people driving too fast. There's no word yet on when construction could begin on County Road 47. A Brooklyn Center area that could use an economic boost received some good news. The Be Inspired Summit, put on by the Minnesota Opportunity Collaborative, featured developers working on several so-called opportunity zones, competing for cash and fundraising opportunities. The effort works to help areas with low income and high poverty rates. One project competing for cash is the Brooklands building. It'll be right next to the FBI headquarters, and it will focus on opportunities for immigrants.
It sat vacant for 12 years. It's a little higher crime rate in that area, and so we're excited about that too. Turning something that wasn't into something that's a real benefit to the community.
And we learned Thursday that the Brooklands building was one of 3 grand prize winners of the Minnesota Opportunity Zone Challenge. The project will receive $7,500 that will pay for pre-planning expenses. The new school year brought major changes to a local middle school. In today's School Spotlight, Eric Nelson brings us to Brooklyn Center Middle School, where a big construction project is almost finished.
And then we're going to talk about some of these questions and the reading as a class.
This week's school spotlight shines on Brooklyn Center Middle School, where students now have more space to gather, learn, and move.
It means a lot to have a new building where the middle school students kind of have a sense of ownership of the space and a sense of pride, reflecting the school they go to and the place they're learning.
This middle school makeover is almost complete and long overdue.
Last year, classrooms were kind of falling apart and dirty.
Soon there will be outside curb appeal to go along with the inside changes already taking place. Students now have hallways as wide as county roads, along with classroom upgrades and other improvements.
Now we have 2 commons, one down the hallway and one here, and got more places to work if you ever need a break.
I mean, kids are excited about the changes, and they are seeming to be really excited about the new school year. So we're trying to ride that energy out as long as possible.
So this mom didn't like how her daughter was learning English.
Emma Nicosia teaches American history at BC Middle School.
So 222 to 229.
Nicosia believes these upgrades are good for the entire campus.
Being in the new space, I think the kids can really feel the difference in having brand new rooms, brand new hallways.
Another change this year relates to the clock.
A slightly later start time research shows kids are more awake.
School begins at 8:45 instead of 7:50 a.m. Students now have 3 86-minute classes and 1 43-minute class each day.
Yeah, it's been good for me as a teacher, and I know that students like it. Definitely see them more awake in the mornings, and I've noticed less kids coming late to school as well.
The later start also means less yawning for teachers, too.
Yeah, and plus I get to sleep in, so.
In Brooklyn Center, I'm Eric Nelson, CCX News.
The Wayzata football team is off to a great start at 3-0. As Jay Wilcox reports, the Trojans should have another tough test this week.
There's a lot to like so far for Wayzata. A 3-0 start against 3 pretty decent teams, and the offense and defense have each been big contributors.
Well, I could say it's been one of the most amazing experiences I've had. Every one of the players on the Wayzata football field, we're flying around, we're making plays, we're doing our job and just having fun. So it's a great time to be a Wayzata Trojan.
I think the offense feeds off of the defense a lot, especially with our new outlaw chain. So I think the defense gets us super excited, and I mean, they get us stopped, so when we go out there, we're excited.
The Trojans were 5-5 last season, but 4 of the losses were by 4 points or less. Some tough lessons learned then are helping out now.
Yeah, for sure. I thought last year we had a lot of close games that we lost. I think over the offseason, I think we really thought about those games, and we really pushed ourselves a lot in the offseason. So
I think we look back and we lost 4 games by a combined 10 points last year, and our kids have really embraced that and said we're going to be a team that knows how to finish and learn from that, and they so far have done a good job of that.
Those losses really taught us something of how one play or those inches that a team gets that really matters a lot, and that if we just keep on pushing hard, if we just keep on doing what we got to do, that shouldn't happen.
This week, 3rd-ranked Wayzata takes on 4th-ranked St. Michael Albertville, another 3-0 team. It's also homecoming week, which means extra excitement and sometimes extra distractions.
They're really good at the run, so we stop that. I think that will be fine.
We know that they're 3-0. We know that they're solid, but I think we're the better team, so I think we're humble about this game, but we're excited.
We want our kids to be able to do both. We want them to enjoy all the homecoming festivities and enjoy being a part of it, but also be focused and be ready to play in the game too. So.
An experienced and talented group at Wayzata plans to keep the train rolling this week. Jay Wilcox, CCX Sports.
The Trojans and STMA kick off at 7 o'clock Friday at Wayzata. That game is part of a big Friday night of football for local teams. In addition to homecoming for Wayzata, it's homecoming at Park Center, Maple Grove, and Champlin Park. The Pirates host Forest Lake in a 5 o'clock game. The Crimson host Blaine, and at halftime, 5 people will be inducted into the Maple Grove High School Hall of Fame. Ashley Allen, Gary Gerst, Lucas Greeter, Caleb Marks, and Kaylee Sadler. Champlin Park is home against Osseo in a game you can see live on CCX at 7 o'clock. Also, Totino Grace is home to play Centennial. Armstrong plays at Chaska. Cooper at Holy Angels. And Benilde St. Margaret's is home to play Bloomington Jefferson. In other games, Hopkins travels to Chanhassen. Brooklyn Center plays Academy Force at St. Croix Prep. Breck plays at Minneapolis Roosevelt. And Providence Academy hosts SMB. Breck and Blake are great rivals at all sports, and their boys' soccer matchups have been memorable in recent seasons. They played a thriller Wednesday. Breck ranked third in Class A, trying to knock off #1 Blake. Breck's Walsh Curran sends a nice ball outside to Ralph Smith. His cross is buried by Spencer Chapman. And Breck grabs a 1-0 lead 15 minutes in. Blake's Keegan James scored a state tournament goal from midfield last season. This one's almost as long. Traffic in front bothers the goalkeeper, and the James shot in to tie it up 1-1. Late in the first half, two Breck defenders nearly collide. Matthew Carlson's shot then deflects off a defender's foot and in. Blake takes a 2-1 lead into halftime. Second half, and Breck's David Gorman sends the long pass ahead. And watch Kern avoid the keeper, and he scores into an empty net. This game's tied 2-2, and it goes to overtime. In the first OT, Smits spreads a great pass through, and Jake Silverman scores. Breck scores another on a penalty kick as they beat top-ranked Blake 4-2. That's all for sports. More news after this.